Internet, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this is Unpopular Culture, where we reserve the right to refuse service to any and all Zach Snyders. Today we're talking about Comic-Con trailers. There were quite a few of them. We already covered the Netflix Marvel stuff last time, so if you wanted to check that out, here's a link to that nonsense. Those look pretty good, but today we're focusing on the cinematic ventures of the various comic book studios, as well as Warner Brothers, and Legendary, I think is one of them.
Yep.
First, we're going to be talking Doctor Strange and Thor Ragnarok. The Doctor Strange trailer came out because obviously that's coming out soon, coming out in November. Very excited to see Sherlock take on the mystic arts.
Yeah, and then Ragnarok kind of leaked. It was available at Comic-Con, but they didn't put out an official trailer, but it's on the internet because you can't stop this.
Yeah. Next, we'll be talking about two movies, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the newest J.K. Rowling Warner Brothers outing in the Harry Potter universe, though this time in the United States, and I think, what is it, the 1920s it looks like? I don't know.
Something like that.
They probably said.
No, they have regular cars, probably closer to the 40s.
30s. Let's split in the middle 30s. I saw some flapper goblins, so it's got to be somewhere in there. We're going to be talking Kong Skull Island, which is Legendary's next movie in their giant monster shared universe. This, if you didn't know, is going to be sharing the same universe as their recent Godzilla movie, which I have mixed opinions on, as do many people, so we'll talk about how that looks. And then finally, we'll be tackling DC's next steps in their movie universe. First, we're going to talk about sort of what we've heard about Suicide Squad, though we haven't seen it yet, so that review will come out next week after we've seen it. And then Wonder Woman and Justice League trailers. Of course, we're going to talk about how maybe Suicide Squad and our opinions of that could shade our views of those movies. So, what do you think, Jake? How was your Comic-Con trailer viewing experience?
It was very positive. Kind of the way Comic-Con always does their thing is they dress everything up to make it look all pretty. They're like strippers, like classy ones.
Okay.
So like basically when you go and watch the movie is when you like take them home to mom.
Okay.
But Doctor Strange, because that's the first one we're going to talk about, that one really looks good. I'll say that's probably the one I'm most excited for on this whole list. And then probably number 2 is cautiously Justice League, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But Doctor Strange, it just looks cool. The effects are the first thing that really jumped out to me, especially because it's not, I don't know if they're all the way done with post-production, but what they've done is really good. You and I bitch constantly about the misuse of special effects all the time. Whatever they're doing, and I don't know what it is that makes it look different. I don't know if it's because we know it's magic or because they use a lot of tessellation and a lot of really complex geometry in the effects, but they just look really crisp. Like even the magic looks like, and I was talking to you before we recorded this, it looks like heat is coming off of some of the stuff, and there's like particle effects, and it sort of almost drips like hot metal. It's really cool.
Yeah, the visual production design is great in this movie. I don't know what it is. Everyone drew the comparisons, obviously, to Inception when they saw the first trailer because the city bending in on itself. But honestly,
I'd say that's accurate.
It is accurate, but I would say Inception was like the beta for this sort of idea.
Oh,
this
yeah.
Movie,
this is better.
It's going to perfect that because especially when you look at the trailer, you have these scenes where, and bear in mind, I don't know that much about Doctor Strange at all. I know he's the Sorcerer Supreme. That's about it. I know he does magic. I knew he was a surgeon who hurt his hands. Other than that, I don't know shit. So this dimension bending where there's all that, like you said, tessellation, and it seems like the buildings are sort of moving. It's like the skin of reality is moving on the buildings. Looks beautiful. Just the idea. I can't even imagine the creativity it takes for these people to come up with ideas like that. It's awesome. And it's interesting because we saw sort of an interesting idea of physics and other dimensions in Ant-Man at the very end when they went into the quantum state. And I think that was kind of an interesting teaser as what could be possible visually when you're looking at the more mystical, quasi-science, weirder aspects of the Marvel Universe. But this looks like it's going to fully flesh it out, and we're going to start seeing, after this movie and in this movie, just some awesome effects and weird stuff happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I would not be surprised if there was some crossover there between Ant-Man and Doctor Strange as far as like, this is magic, but also there's some science to the magic, and I don't necessarily know how the conduit works for the magic, but it seems like there's going to be it's gonna bump into each other at one point, right?
I
I feel like it's not far away. I know it's magic in the Marvel universe. I know it is because he talks about skepticism in the trailer twice. But I also think that they're going to root it in something where other characters could also manipulate that.
I think what they talked about early on in production, I don't know if the script was done at this point, but they were talking about tying it into like quantum mechanics. So there is going to be sort of a pseudo scientific explanation that this isn't, it's magic, but it's based in something in reality. It's not just total voodoo, you know?
It's definitely got overtones of string theory and alternate realities in many universes, because the idea behind the city folding is that it's not just the one city. There's many cities, kind of, you know, if you think of like multiple multiverse kind of stacked on top of each other, and then you're kind of sliding through those multiverses into the others. It's craziness. It looks very imaginative and new, and I think that's important. Especially in the Marvel universe, which has basically just been, I don't know, let's throw our hands at the other people.
I'm interested that, like what you just said, I'm interested how this is going to come into combat when Doctor Strange starts to fight the bad guy in this movie. How is that going to play into it? We saw a little bit in the trailer. He's like on the side of a building. There's a part where stuff is still shifting. There's parts where a block gets basically obliterated, but then Doctor Strange reverses it. So
magic shields at one point, kind of like Green Lantern.
It'll be interesting. I think this movie will get what Green Lantern got wrong, at least one of the things Green Lantern got wrong, which is the combat with these ethereal... in this, it's magic, obviously. In Green Lantern Corps, it's different. But that sort of ethereal weaponry, I think this will do a good job of that. I hope it's not just, let's shoot magical lightning bolts at each other, though. But I trust Marvel at this point enough where I think they'll pull it off without it just being that.
It looked pretty physical. Just obviously, we're getting really quick shots back to back because it's a trailer and they want you to, you know, masturbate a little bit to it. But like for instance, Mads Mikkelsen, who is a badass in real life, will be a badass in this. He's got like lava eyeballs, which is, well, not eyeballs, but the around his eyes is cool. But he was the villain, and it looked like he was doing more than just shooting lightning bolts out of his hands. He's not Voldemort. He looks like he's changing the terrain, and what I think is going to come into play in a lot of fights, which would be cool, is the dimension bending.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see him running up and down buildings and shit, which is cool. But there's that shot where they're on like this mountaintop, and it's probably during the training montage scenes. And he kind of walks through this flame portal thing, and now he's on top of a mountain, and then they walk back in. I feel like if you could just like pop those, if you're falling, like you could pop one over to another person, then fly through it sideways and punch or something. I feel like you could use it like a portal gun, kind of in Portal 1 and 2, where you could just kind of jump all over the place. I feel like that's going to add a really cool dynamic to this. Especially when you think when he does the team up movies, I'm thinking a lot of, and I know you're a fan of these games, and I haven't played a ton of them, but the Marvel Ultimate Alliance sort of thing, where they all started working using their powers together. We saw a lot of that actually in Avengers 2, but he adds a whole new dimension to it.
The weird team up I want to see, I don't know how this would work. I assume in Avengers 3 it'll come into play. I want to see what a really creative writer could do with a combination of Ant-Man and Doctor Strange. I don't know how this would work. There's nothing specific like obviously Ant-Man getting put on Hawkeye's bow as Tiny and getting big and punching. That's sort of an obvious thing, but I think somewhere there's a really creative idea for what you could do with Doctor Strange's magic and Ant-Man's quantum shrinking and growing. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not that creative a person. I want someone creative to do something interesting with that, though, because it'd be really freaking sweet.
Yeah. I also like the physical designs of like the costumes and stuff.
Yes.
He looks genuinely cool. He's got the sort of magic cape that sort of like is on him.
Yeah.
I wonder if he has to concentrate to keep the cape on.
The thing I would say, I'm impressed by pretty much all the Marvel costume designs for the superheroes because it's hard to do. I recognize that.
How have they not fucked that up yet?
The one they fucked up was the end of Daredevil season 1. The cowl looked weird, and
that's not even them though. That's not the cinematic universe.
No, but well, it's in the same universe. But I understand.
I know it is, but it's not the same people. I'm saying, but yeah, I agree with you. Daredevil was a little iffy, but it was still at least cool enough. Like it wasn't like gross. It wasn't like Batman Begins.
No.
Where everyone's like, ugh.
And even then, they fixed it in Daredevil Season 2, so it's like they're nailing every costume, and I don't know how. Doctor Strange says that It's a silly looking costume. Look, I respect that it has its roots in the comics, and I respect the legacy that the comics have, but it's a silly fucking looking costume. It's hard to translate that to real life and not make it look laughable, but they totally did it. Benedict Cumberbatch throws that fucking cape on himself. I'm like, yeah, that guy's fucking badass in his fucking cape and weird Asian monk looking outfit. Like,
yeah, and I really actually appreciate his American accent in this too. I know in the first trailer that dropped, you're like, I don't know, it sounds a little funny. But the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, talk to me in American accent more. Read Huck Finn to me or another Americana book.
I'm curious, I don't mind it. I'm just wondering, why did they make him do it? I understand that in the comics, he is an American character, but that's not a necessity.
Maybe he wanted to do it.
Maybe he wanted to, but like, they could have just said, oh, here's Doctor Strange. He moved to New York from Britain. He's the world's best surgeon. Like, no one would have been like, that's weird. Why is this English person in my Marvel movie?
Yeah,
like,
I guess. Yeah.
I don't know.
I also like the humor with the Wi-Fi joke, which leads me to believe that it will maintain a score of levity that is necessary in the MCU currently.
I appreciate that actually. The trailer concentrated on the serious moments and the character moments, and they didn't do that quip until the very end of the trailer. It was very restrained of them. I appreciate that, because you can do a trailer of Marvel movies all day where it's just quip, 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 because that's a big part of them, obviously. Yeah. But they didn't. They focused on, hey, here's the story of the movie, but we're not giving away too much away like DC does. But hey, here's what you're going to do. Here's what one of the effects look like. And at the end, hey, yeah, we're still humorous. Well-made trailer. Whoever does the fucking trailers for DC needs to get a fucking masterclass from whoever does the trailers for Marvel. Because the only trailer I haven't liked from Marvel, on retrospect, is the Avengers 2, because it had a totally different tone from the movie. But
I'd say Captain America, the first one.
Well,
that one looked really... I guess that movie just sucked in general. Sucked is really hard. It sucked in comparison to the other ones. It's my least favorite. Maybe Iron Man 2. But anyways, other than that, I think the score that they use within the trailer is really rad, and I hope that carries over to the movie, because it deserves a sort of big score like that. And I feel like a score to a movie, especially with mystical powers and tessellation and dimension bending, when you can have that big thing like Hans Zimmer in Inception, again, we're drawing a lot of parallels, it made it that much better. The boom! I mean, it's kind of a meme now, but it's still iconic, and you if you're in the theater watching it for the first time, that was fucking epic.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping to get more of this out of this movie. This movie looks like you can't not see it in theaters. You know what I mean? Like, I could see Ant-Man at home, and I was totally fine. I didn't go see it in theaters. I'll have to see this in theaters. It just looks like it's going to be totally worth it, the spectacle.
I'm going to see it where I live. We don't have actual like name brand IMAX. We have a like GDX, giant digital experience, some shit from I don't know who does it, but it's all right. I'm definitely going to see it in that as opposed to the normal theater, because it's worth the extra like $2. I want to see this on a big screen. I don't know.
For sure. Moving on, I guess we have Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, which is coming out soon, and again, it was leaked. You can Google it real quick and find it immediately, though. Just look up Thor Ragnarok Comic-Con, and it's up there. Obviously, it's a little grainy, but you can watch it. But there's confirmed what we all knew, but it's confirmed now on screen. The Hulk is in this, and he's on Asgard, it looks like.
I don't think it's Asgard. It looks more like, if you remember at the beginning of Thor Dark World, he was in one of the other realms.
Yeah, it's something like that. But he's not on Earth, which is super weird. So I hope they immediately explain how the fuck that little Quinjet gets there. It's probably a portal situation.
Maybe. But it looks interesting. It's Bruce Banner walking through this forest, or running through, and there's some sort of battle going on with horses and swords, and, you saw the beginning of Dark World, probably. It's a lot like that. And clearly he's getting stressed out, trying not to turn into the Hulk, and then at the very end it looks like he turns into it and everyone stops and looks in his direction. You can just see trees breaking and noises.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like the idea of, and yes, I know this was a comic, I like the idea of Hulk in space and dealing with combatants other than people on modern 21st century Earth.
So he can really unleash.
It's gonna be sweet. And I like Mark Ruffalo. I like this version of the Hulk so much, so I'm so glad he's getting more screen time. Right now they can't do a solo Hulk movie because Paramount owns the rights to that still, even though Marvel still owns the distribution rights, or maybe it's the opposite, I forget. But I'm all for more Hulk screen time as long as it's done well, and this looks like it will be done well.
Not a lot to say about this really, because it was pretty short, and again, it was like a camera, so it wasn't high quality, couldn't really dissect it that much. But there is a little bit at the end with Thor and stuff, and it looks fine. I guess you say there's, I don't know if it's a rumor or a confirmed leak or something. He cuts his hair at some point due to some dishonorable thing. So there's short-haired Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
Which is so weird. I don't like that in general. I hope it's just a one-movie thing. I hope they don't decide, oh, we're just going to have short-haired Thor from now on because reasons. If you didn't know, Chris Hemsworth's hair is not that long, I assume you know, but he wears a wig in all the Thor movies, and it looks fine. Maybe they just he's sick of wearing the wig, and he's like, hey guys, can you write out the long hair? I hope not. Like, I'm okay with Thor not wearing the helmet. I get it. That's pretty silly, even for the MCU. But you need the hair.
I would like him to wear the helmet every once in a while. Is when he's on Asgard, especially. Like, just once or twice. Like, for Sarah... Because he's like... Is Odin passed that on yet? I feel like that's still kind of in the works.
No, because remember at the end of Thor Dark World, well, he was going to, but Thor decided he didn't want to become king yet, and now Loki is in charge in secret.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But, I don't know. He's still part of the court, as you were. And I think it'd be a cool, like, shout at the fans. Like, look at this fucking helmet that some of you wanted. This is why we don't.
I always took it in Thor 1, I don't think that was ever a battle helmet. I always took it that was a ceremonial because they were in that ceremony to, that's not a real thing he wears. But
yeah,
if in Avengers 3 Part 2 or whatever they're calling it now, they changed the name. It's not Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. They're calling them different things now. It's going to be Avengers Infinity War and Avengers some other subtitle. If in the final battle of that he had a helmet but a better designed one that kind of made sense, that'd be cool, but...
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do with it. The Thor outfit doesn't really get redesigned that much. It's been tightened up a little bit here and there, and some color changes. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it because I'm interested in the Hulk thing, and it's kind of going to be. It's probably going to be the closest thing we get to Planet Hulk.
I'm so glad Natalie Portman isn't in this movie. Natalie Portman was easily the worst part of the first two Thor movies. No offense to her, because she can act when she wants to, but clearly here she did not fucking want to. She was just thinking to herself, God damn it, I was in Black Swan. Why the fuck am I here? Anyway.
So I guess that's it. That's it for Ragnarok. What do we have next on the list?
Next thing's going to be Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is the newest Harry Potter. Kind of. Harry Potter isn't in it, but it's in that universe, and that's going to be interesting. It stars, what's-his-face? Stephen Hawking actor.
Eddie Redmayne, also Colin Farrell, and then Dan Fogler, who was the guy from that Ping Pong movie.
Remember that
Ping Pong movie where he fights? He battles Christopher Walken in Ping Pong.
Well, step up for him. Good job.
Yeah, no, it looks good though, and it takes place in America, but Eddie Redmayne is from London or whatever. Colin Farrell looks like, is he a detective and a wizard?
He's part of
He seemed like he was on the inside, sort of, but I don't know.
He's part of the. It's interesting. This is what I'm going to be interested in this movie. I like Harry Potter, by the way, but I'm not like in love with it. I've watched all the movies. I enjoyed them, some more than others.
The last two are incredible.
Yeah,
the last two are genuinely good films. But yeah,
the books I only read up to 4, and that was years ago. I don't even remember them, but I'm excited for this.
You're not a real nerd.
Yeah. I'm excited for this one because they're going to explore other wizarding societies other than just the Ministry of Magic. And this is interesting because they have like the first magical congress or something it's called, which is in the United States, the wizarding community functions more like the United States government, which is kind of an interesting concept. And they don't call people muggles. They call them no-mages, which is like people who don't have magic.
They don't have magic, guys.
It'll be interesting to see this universe, and I'm glad they're expanding and exploring and not just trying to jump right back in with Harry Potter, but as an adult and, and different things. Though apparently Warner Brothers did buy the rights to the new Harry Potter play that just came out, The Cursed Child, which is about Harry Potter as an adult and his kids in school. So they might do that eventually, which I'll probably watch. But I
hear the new book is in play form.
Yeah, it is in play form, but
that's super weird.
Yeah. I'm glad, though, that they didn't just jump into that and they're trying to expand this universe, whatever it may be. Because honestly, Harry Potter, if I'm being honest, I got a little bored by the story by like the 5th one. The movies are still good, but I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. Yeah, Voldemort's a bad guy. We get it. Even Star Wars was fucking 3 episodes. The
yeah,
original.
I think it was kind of just fun, and it kind of took a life of its own at the time because it was one of those fads that turned out to be quality.
Oh, I totally.
So I get that. Let's do more of those. Yeah, no, but it's kind of like how Twilight kind of hit its peak after the first book, and then after that, only fangirls were like Twihards were into that shit, and it kind of tried to piggyback off of the Potter stuff. But This looks genuinely like a cool IP, and I hope that this isn't the only story based in this area. I think that's really cool. I like the idea of an Americanized school of wizarding because, we're not as pomp and circumstance
Right.
as they are over there. Although I would have liked it kind of in modern times, which would have been interesting. But I period piece is fine too. I think this is it's set apart from Harry Potter enough so that you're like, okay, that doesn't affect anything. It's fine. This is totally new. It's a wash. And again, Eddie Redmayne is just a fantastic actor, so I'm hoping he does stuff.
Playing it in the trailer too is interesting. We talked about this before we recorded. It's very 11th Doctor Matt Smith. Which is funny because Matt Smith auditioned for this role too, which and you know what? I like Matt Smith. I really do. He was a good doctor, but the guy that got better actor. So I'm glad Matt Smith didn't necessarily get this. You can just wait around for the next Terminator movie and be Skynet again, Matt Smith, which will not happen. Man.
Matt Smith needs to get a good role coming up because I really like him on screen. I hope Eddie Redmayne someday is the Doctor. We're huge Doctor Who fans though, so that would be fantastic. Yeah.
But the basic plot is he goes to New York, it looks like, and he has a case that's bigger on the inside. Again, very Doctor Who-y. It's full of...
Well, they have a bag of holding kind of thing, like Hermione has that shit.
Yeah, it's like full of magical creatures. So they get loose in New York, and he has to go get them. It's a pretty simple plot. I assume there'll be intrigue with the magical community. It looks like, what's his face?
Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell's probably going to turn out to be a bad guy or corrupt or something, it seems like.
Yeah. You know what I would really like is if they thought he was a bad guy and then he turned out to be good. Like, he was hunting them the whole time, but that's just kind of because it's his job.
Sure, that'd be fine, but...
It'd be... Well, Colin Farrell's a bad guy is too easy of an angle to take.
I suppose.
He's obvious. He's a real-life bad guy. No one likes Colin Farrell.
What's wrong with Colin Farrell?
I don't know. He's just a douchebag. But yeah, I don't know. It looks good. Dan Fogler looks like he's going to be the comedic relief. He's going to be your Ron. I don't think we're going to have a Hermione, which is too bad because Emma Watson is hot.
It's the 30s. Women aren't allowed to be wizards, except the one in the trailer, who was a black woman wizard and clearly in charge of the Congress.
She's also clearly in charge of a speakeasy.
Yeah, there's wizard prohibition. Why did the wizards go along with prohibition? That's kind of... They have their own government. It's kind of weird.
I don't know. It looks good, though. I'll see it. It comes out, around... Is it Christmas?
Something like that.
It's not on Christmas, because Rogue One comes out, and I don't think they want to compete with that.
It's probably anywhere. It's November or December, sometime in there.
Yeah, it looks like it's cool. What's the next one? Kong Skull Island.
Did you ever watch Godzilla, the new one? All the way
I
through?
watched it, and it was... Let's talk about Godzilla real quick, because this is in the same universe. Godzilla starts out, and you have Bryan Cranston, and he's given this really great performance. And if you care about spoilers, I'm going to spoil it. His wife dies. And then there's Godzilla things that happen, and then he dies immediately, and his son is Kick-Ass / Quicksilver, and he does things, actually with Scarlet Witch, who is his wife in that movie.
Yep.
Which is super awkward later on, because they fuck. And then they're brother and sister, and then he dies. That's just the Marvel universe. Anyways, it's not fun. It did have moments like they're on the bridge, and then Godzilla kind of walks around sneakily for some reason. But it's got enough suspense in certain parts, but most of it's just fucking show us Godzilla. We know what Godzilla is, but the design for the monster was actually cool. And then there's a fight at the end that's pretty neat. And, for Legendary, it's genuinely fun film on the bookends. But the middle is awful. The middle is super boring. Get your phones out. But this looks way better, if I'm honest.
So much. It looks like sometime during either Vietnam or Korea, based on the military equipment and the uniforms.
Yeah.
And we have amazing cast in this movie. I think Legendary genuinely took criticism from, hey, Bryan Cranston was the best thing in Godzilla. You need better actors and characters.
Let me give you a quick rundown, by the way. The top 4 billed people are Samuel L. Jackson, who I think is going to be your villain. You have Brie Larson, who is fantastic. She was actually the girl in the first 21 Jump Street that Jonah Hill really liked. Yeah. But now she is actually Captain Marvel. She is newly cast as Captain Marvel.
Yeah, she's a good choice. I like that. I like her.
She is. She's a good actress. And she's just fun. Tom Hiddleston, who is also Loki. So there's a crossover here. And then one of my favorite actors from a movie last year, John Goodman, from 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If we can get that performance from him, oh man, this movie's going to be fantastic. And then there's a bunch of other actors.
John C.
and
Reilly's in
actresses.
this too, which is weird.
I heard him say something in the trailer, but they don't show him on screen.
Right.
He says something. They're like unloading the chopper, and he's talking over top of it, like, "You shouldn't fuck with giant apes" or something. He's not exactly what he's saying, but he's clearly being. It's clearly cautionary.
Yeah.
No, he's a really good actor too, though. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
It looks like an interesting story. It looks like an excuse to kill a bunch of people. I bet even in IMDb, John C. Reilly isn't like given a name for a character. I bet he dies almost immediately, which would be kind of funny. And honestly, even though I expect it, I could see why they would do it, because people are like, oh, there's that guy. He was in Step Brothers and he was in Chicago. Like, he's an unknown guy, and then they kill him immediately, and then it's kind of a, oh no, it's a fake out. But Kong looks good in this too, surprisingly. Kong, okay, the Peter Jackson King Kong movie, sorry.
No, don't do that. Don't go there.
I respect what it's trying to do.
Don't do that. Don't respect the Jack Black Kong movie.
But I don't particularly. That's not a movie I'm ever like, hey, I want to sit down and watch King Kong.
Here's the thing. This is not that story, though. This is not the let's go get King Kong, put him on a ship, bring him to New York, and do a fucking carnival. This is just them checking this place out, because I believe John Goodman's character is like, we'll call him conspiracy theorist guy who's actually right. And it looks like they just go not knowing what they're getting into, but they take military people anyway, so I assume they know that there's threats. And then this fucking giant ape comes and destroys everything. Looks cool as fuck.
Yeah,
I will say the shot setup, like the direction and the cinematography looks fucking awesome. It looks way better than we saw in Godzilla. Like there's a lot of shots, like action shots. I don't know what they're actually called, but like they're loading a gun, or you'll see an out of focus start to focus on rolling bullets. It just looks stylistically really good. And it takes place in this jungle area, and the heat of that is definitely made known, so you kind of feel like there's an ambiance about it in the trailer already, so I have a lot of faith in the film.
I'm interested in Kong in this movie because, obviously, if you didn't know, by the way, they're going to do King Kong versus Godzilla in a couple of years. I think they're doing Godzilla 2, and then King Kong versus Godzilla. They had to, obviously, if you don't know anything about King Kong, I think how tall is King Kong? Like 20 meters, or it's either 20 or 50, something like that.
They scaled him up for the classic Clash as well when they did that back in the 60s,
something like that. I think it was maybe the 50s. No, it was in color, probably closer to the 60s. But anyway, it'd be interesting because in this movie they scale him up quite a bit, but it's still not as big as the new Godzilla. New Godzilla, I think, is something like 200 meters tall or something like that.
This one looks like one something.
And I've heard a theory that Kong is pretty big in this movie, but the reveal at the end will be, oh man, he's still a baby or something, so he can scale up even more. Because this is the 70s, so by the time you do King Kong versus Godzilla, which obviously has to take place in the modern age, they can have full-size King Kong who's the size of Godzilla, and they can fight each other. That'd be interesting.
I wouldn't hate if everyone in this movie dies.
That'd be fine. Honestly, it would make sense because they had to do this as a prequel, because when Godzilla happens, everyone's surprised. So people don't know giant things exist. So pretty much either everyone has to die.
They have cameras with them.
They do have camera. Oh, no, they don't. I don't know.
They do. They have these little cranky cameras. Brie Larson specifically is holding one in a trailer. What I'm thinking is probably those are going to break and no one's going to believe them when they go back, whatever.
Maybe. Or the government will be like, if you talk, we're going to do bad things.
I would rather they all died, though. I think that's a good ending.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's weird because the narrative, I think, is more going to be Samuel L. Jackson versus the other people, or some other unknown person versus people, than it is going to be Kong versus them. Because let's be real, if Kong wanted them dead immediately, they'd all be dead. He's fucking huge.
He's going to be the threat to everybody. Samuel L. Jackson's going to be the threat to everyone as well, including Kong. I think the way his character is framed seems he's like, it's man versus beast, and I'm fucking Sam Jackson, and we gotta shoot him with the guns, and you can tell that it's gonna be this big battle that's, born in futility, and they're gonna try to talk him out of it, and then they're gonna get hunted, and they're gonna have an infight, and Sam Jackson's gonna die probably in a blown up chopper.
Maybe. Overall, though, I am excited for that more than I was excited for Godzilla. My girlfriend's a big Godzilla fan. She loves those movies. I don't get it, honestly. I don't get it. I'm not a Godzilla
fan. They're campy. They're like if you think the original like Star Trek series is campy, this is like just watching the Gorn walk around.
Yeah, I don't get it, but she liked those, so we went to go see Godzilla, and I had a good time. I was bored in the middle, like pretty much everyone, and I was pissed off they killed the best character in like the first 15 minutes, but the end fight was interesting. It was good, so overall, I'm excited to see what they're going to do, especially with this new movie. If that's great, then I'm super excited for King Kong versus Godzilla, because come on, don't tell me, as ludicrous as that is, you aren't going... Oh, yeah,
I'm watching
I want to see that.
Like Pacific Rim, I did not really enjoy, but at least it kept my attention. But this is going to be like better Pacific Rim, I think, when it finally happens.
Sure.
But now we kind of got to bring the show down maybe a little bit. I don't know if what we're hearing is the truth or what we're hearing is bias, but Suicide Squad just came out, and I'm going to see it next week, and so is Hugo, I think. And so we'll talk about it the next show. But I'm hearing very mixed reviews. Pretty much every critic is shitting all over this movie. But I'm hearing a lot of fans go, you know what? I enjoyed it, and I know it's not well put together necessarily, because I guess there's some editing mistakes, much like the last Batman v Superman, and you guys know how we feel about that. But it just feels like it's a mess, and I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers is to blame.
What I've heard is that the director made his cut, and then Warner Brothers said, okay, now we'll make our cut, which I don't know why they did this, seeing as to what happened to Batman vs. Superman and then the Ultimate Edition, and then they said, okay, they came to a, quote, compromise, in which they then took the 2 edits, handed them over to the studio that made the trailers for the movie, and then said, here, we want this part from this cut, and this part from this cut, and this part from that cut, and they kind of melded them together into a Frankenstein movie. Which would account for the editing and pacing issues. I've also heard the villain isn't very good. I've heard it's kind of choppy. I've heard it's a bad movie, but an enjoyable movie, if that makes sense. Also, apparently they play, like, classic rock songs throughout the movie, like in the trailers, but they don't really fit. And I've heard the implication that these weren't really in the original cut. These are things the studio put in because they're trying to be this year's Guardians of the Galaxy. Because the kids like old music in their team-up kind of pseudo anti-hero movies. Let's do that in this movie.
That's so fucking ham-fisted and stupid.
Yeah.
The thing is, Warner Brothers is clearly run by old people. Like, I feel like these are like, not to get political, but these are the kind of people that like Hillary Clinton would hang out with.
Okay. Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, just sort of like, and I find Hillary Clinton to be way more susceptible to other people telling her no than these people seem to be. But, like, they just sort of go like, well, what are the polls saying? Oh, they like classic rock and quippy dialogue? Let's do that. Jared Leto, let's give him body tattoos. Because hipsters. Also, I don't know, Harley Quinn? Let's do it.
I've also heard, honestly, this disappoints me more than the movie not being that good, is that Jared Leto's Joker, I've heard, isn't that good either. So
I've heard that he's one of the better parts, and they cut a lot of it, though.
I heard they cut most of his scenes. So
yeah, that's craziness. The one part people want to go see is the Joker. Yeah. Like, let's be real. We're there because the Joker's in this. If you don't have the Joker in Suicide Squad, you just have Harley Quinn, people are going to be like, oh, that's lukewarm. But now that you have Joker, like, okay, yeah, let's go in. Harley Quinn's your second draw, and I hear she's pretty good. But, man, I don't know. This is just a preliminary thing we got to talk about before we go into the other DC shit, because this is like, we're wearing 2 condoms when we're fucking these movies.
Honestly, we needed to bring it up because before the reviews for Suicide Squad came out and I saw these trailers for Comic-Con, I was like, holy shit, they turned it around. These trailers look really good. But now that I found out that Suicide Squad wasn't very good and I liked the trailers for that, I'm now thinking, oh my god, what are you idiots doing? So anyway, Wonder Woman.
Looks cool, right?
Yeah, I think it looks good. Honestly, Gal Gadot was one of the parts of Batman vs. Superman I didn't hate. I thought she did all right as Wonder Woman. Her action scenes were fine. I think she'll do all right. And in the trailer, she looks pretty good. She looks like an interesting, likable character for the most part. And she has that whole Thor sort of fish out of water thing going for it, which is sort of a played out trope, but I think it'll do fine here, especially because of the setting, which is World War I, which... Yeah. We get World War II movies all the time. We don't often get World War I set movies, especially a movie like this that's like a summer action, popcorn, I don't want to call it silly because it's DC and they're going for, quote, more serious. But come on, it's Wonder Woman in trench warfare. That's going to be fucking interesting and kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to, like, frame it, though. Like, I don't know what their motivations could be. I think she's falling in love with Chris Pine and kind of like, I want to go to, not the Amazon. And they're like, okay, you can leave now. And then Robin Wright, who I believe is her mom, who was in House of Cards as Miss Underwood,
sure,
sets her free, and her wings expand, and she is new and happy with a man. And then war breaks out, and then she has to redon her sword and shield that she brought along conveniently, and then she has to slice up some goddamn Germans. Because she was a big Franz Ferdinand fan.
See, here's how I think it's going to be different. I think what it's going to be is that she meets Chris Pine. I don't think she's going to have a love interest in him at first at all. I think that'll definitely happen and he'll die in the end, which will make her go back to Amazonia. But anyway.
That's what I'm hoping for.
What I think is going to happen is she'll hear about, maybe she wants, Wonder Woman is known for liking a good battle. She wants to be in battle and it's glorious and all that.
I wouldn't hate that motivation. That's a very accurate Wonder Woman sort of thing.
But I think Chris Pine will tell her about the biggest war in history is happening right now, and she'll be like, "Ooh, I need to get me some of that." So I think that'll get her into the world and fighting in World War I, and that's why that'll be the way it is. Which is it's lucky Chris Pine isn't a German that washed up on Amazonia because that would have been bad for pretty much everyone else. I'm just saying.
I like Chris Pine, so I'm hoping that he's not awful in it. I can't imagine he will be. From what I've seen, he looks fine. I'm worried this is going to get into a Ghostbusters-esque debate where they're like, you just added Chris Pine so the dudes would watch it. It's like, well, I mean, I would watch Chris Pine shirtless anyways. Just throwing that out there. But now he's in like World War I leather stuff. I think she's going to be clearly the lead because he's inferior to her in every way.
Absolutely. I'm worried about if we're doing Ghostbusters comparisons. Listen, studios tend to have a thing now. They're trying to break into more female leads. They're trying to do that, which is good because there needs to be more female leads in movies. That's fine.
Captain Marvel I'm looking forward to, by the way.
I think that'll be a great movie. But the problem is, you see it especially in movies like Ghostbusters, where they don't know how to just write a woman character as just she's a character, and also, yeah, she happens to be a woman, but that's not her primary character trait. I'm afraid they're going to go with, oh my god, she's a woman, and you could do a little bit of that, because obviously, it's World War I, sure.
Yeah, but that makes more sense in World War I for them that to happen.
That can't be every other scene, though. Every interaction she has can't be defined by the fact that she has a vagina. Like, it needs to be she's just a good character, who's a strong character, and people come to respect her because of her abilities.
What's going to happen, hopefully, because Gal Gadot, by the way, they only really touched on her femininity a little bit in Batman v Superman in the ballroom scene, basically. Like with the "you've never met a girl like me" sort of thing. Oh, I guess a little bit later, where she's obviously getting hit on for a minute. But I feel like she's going to go to the World War I group that Chris Pine has with an American Indian for some whatever, and it's a ragtag group of special forces, and which is probably the case. And she's gonna be, she's just a super hot lady. Okay. What's she gonna do? And then she like beats up some people in training or something, or like takes out a whole platoon of pointy-hatted Germans, and then they're gonna have their respect and probably won't touch on it again. Because in the fight scenes that you do see, which by the way are fucking cool, and I really like her fighting style. It's very unique to her. It doesn't seem like it's just like, if you watch the cartoons or whatever, she's basically female Superman. She flies around and kind of punches people. And then she's like sliding around. She's using her sword. She does a lot of, more acrobatic stuff, but not Catwoman.
Sure.
She's using her strength for sure. She like breaks a fucking gun with her biceps. And she uses the lasso a lot in combat, which is interesting instead of just the lasso of truth. It's like, no, it's like a fucking whip that I can get people with. It's neat.
I'm glad it's World War I for another reason, because if it was World War II, it would be more ridiculous. For one, copying Marvel. Although, obviously, they don't own World War II. People would just be like, oh, it's like Captain America.
Well, because their characters are so similar in that regard. It'd be like Thor met Captain America.
Right.
And kind of, that's where they're in the middle.
The other reason is because the weaponry is as such that she can still like ride on horseback and be slicing people with her sword, and it still kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting setting. I'm interested in the movie. We'll see what happens. If I go to see Suicide Squad and I think it's utter shit, then I have no confidence in any of these movies, no matter what. So whatever. But as of right now, the trailer looks all right. Looks good. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know if this is going to be my last. I might not go see Wonder Woman in theaters. I might wait for reviews if Suicide Squad is bad like you. But Justice League, I'm probably going to, because of the trailer they put out. Now, this is just the first trailer, and my opinion may change later on, but the tone seems way different. It seems like the first act is basically going to be Bruce Wayne going around and trying to gather all these people with Gal Gadot in tow. She's kind of, already on the team. I think that's interesting. I really like Ben Affleck. The first scene you see, he's looking for Arthur Curry, Aquaman, and he's got all this information. Then he kind of looks. He's just a really fucking good actor, man. He's so Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he nails that. Honestly, I feel so bad for Ben Affleck. He deserves so much better. He gives such a good Bruce Wayne performance and Batman performance. He deserved a better movie universe.
No matter what, I hope he still gets Batman movies because he's fucking great at it.
Yeah.
Just so good. And then Jason Momoa, who is Aquaman in this, looks rad as fuck, right? Yeah. They nailed this version. Like, this is kind of the long-haired, beardy version that you see a lot of Arthur Curry, although he's not blonde. He's definitely, what is New Zealand-y?
Sure.
What are they? But also in that shot, he drinks from a bottle and throws it down, and then right after that, he's standing on a rock, and like the waves hit and crash around him. That's not CG. He really did that. That's pretty rad.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, I know, it's really cool. The only thing as far as the trailer that I thought looked really bad was Cyborg, and I think a lot of people agree with me.
Okay, I forgive that. It even says at the beginning this is made for press. That's not even close to what he's going to look like in the final.
I hope not. But right now it looks bad. It's like concave and awkward, and obviously they didn't show a lot of him because most of his character is going to be post-production work, so you can only show him a little bit. But they did do some improvements to the Batman costume. It's basically the same texture, but they have some armor plating and stuff. It looks cooler.
I would like to take this moment to say fuck you to all the people who, when I talked about that script leak for Justice League, and you were like, that doesn't even sound like a real scene.
Did people say that?
It was, yeah, a couple people in the comments were like,
that was in the trailer.
It was
bitches.
In the trailer. I was totally right. So you can trust me for sources in the future. I nailed that shit.
Yeah, and by the way, that's my favorite thing of the whole trailer, and I think most people. Flash, like I said, looks awesome. Like, just Ezra Miller was a really good casting choice, and I've been fanboying about the Flash thing for a while. I really like how they treated the Speed Force, which is the one thing you really have to nail. The second thing would be his personality, and the third would be the suit. And I think they got all of them correct. The Speed Force, though, is important because he can just kind of like turn it on. He doesn't have to be moving for it, and that's what's important about it. He just kind of experiences stuff slower.
It implies that he's advanced in his use of the Speed Force, as opposed to the one on the TV show that's like still learning, so he can only use it when he's running and he's barely tapped into it.
This one looks like he's fucking about to cut himself.
I
fucking hate the TV show.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. I've seen a criticism like he acts like Wally West, not Barry Allen. Wally West is the one who's the quippy Flash. But let's be real. Most people in general audiences recognize the things about the Flash. They'll recognize the name Barry Allen, and they think the Flash, all versions are the same and quippy.
Well, no, the thing is, Barry and Hal Jordan are my favorite duo in the DC universe, and they're quippy with each other, which I really like. Obviously, Hal is more so. So what I'm hoping for is they kind of take the good stuff from Wally that we don't really care for. We don't need another Wally. Barry Allen's just fine, because I like kind of the techie version of Barry Allen, which is this, obviously, based on his hideout, which, by the way, shout out to Rick and Morty behind Bruce Wayne's head.
Oh, I didn't even see that. That's neat.
Oh, it's playing the whole time. It's really funny. It's the one where Rick and Summer are beating people up.
Oh, yeah.
It's super funny. But Anyways, I think this is going to be a good mix because he's going to be able to level with Bruce Wayne / Batman on a lot of the tech stuff, and then Cyborg comes in, then you have that as well, and then Hal's going to come in, and then you're going to kind of bridge the gap there. I assume they're going to get Hal eventually.
If they don't fuck this up too bad and they get that far.
Yeah, assuming they don't fuck this up. But, and then you get your really, really excellent core, and then you can do these sort of really fun character things. So it looks like it's going to be good. I love that scene though. You nailed it again when you had the leaked script. I mean, it was just Ezra Miller nailed that. It was great. And I saw something like I don't know how long that scene is, that throw, but it's like close to 20 seconds or something. In Bruce Wayne's time, it's like 0.37 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That he experiences. I think that's cool. They really treated the Speed Force well, and the suit is rad.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Some people complain it looks like a Power Ranger suit. I disagree. I think it looks cool. I'm fine with it.
No.
I'll give him this. I don't think it's as good an adaptation as like the Batman suit was from the comics, but as far as live action Flash suits, it's the best we've ever gotten. Like, I think it looks fine. Sure. So,
well, the thing is, they did the Flash TV show, which kind of hamstrings you a little bit to do a more classic version.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is good. I like the idea that he has armor though, because he's just a fast guy. What if he gets hit by something?
I think it's more the Speed Force makes him more. The Speed Force.
Well, he's got a high metabolism and he heals fast, but the fact that his body can take the damage doesn't change.
Right. I think the Speed Force does whatever the fuck it wants though, based on the story. So sometimes it makes him more, invulnerable.
Yeah. Well, this reveal of his full suit is good because it shows that what we saw in Batman v Superman in the Ultimate Edition, which is the only viable edition out there, in the time travel sort of thing that you saw him go through, it was clearly his time travel suit.
Sure.
That probably Bruce helped him with.
Yeah.
Like, it was for that, so it could sustain the Speed Force that it needs to go through. Other than that, I think it all looks good. I like that Aquaman's going to be pretty cool. But the thing is, when they're on that bridge and they're like kind of teamed up, Arthur's not with them. Like, it's just Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Batman, which still looks cool. But I'm interested in why that's not the case.
If I had to guess, it'll either be Aquaman doesn't join till later because newer Aquaman versions are kind of like that. They're averse to joining the Justice League. They're distrustful.
Well, they're very. It's a isolationist kind of thing where unless Atlantis is under direct attack, it's not really there. I am hoping for a mantis, by the way.
What's that?
Or a manta.
Oh, Black Manta?
Black Manta, very much. There's some shots of like just pictures of Zack Snyder and Jason Momoa in like the prop room where we saw the first Flash costume and like a Batman cowl. Some people are speculating that there's a black suit back there. There's no helmet, but that's the Manta one. That would be really cool.
Maybe. It's either Aquaman off doing his own thing because he doesn't want to join the team, or it wouldn't surprise me if he's off doing his specific Aquaman task. Like, there's a thing underwater. Go get it, because that's your power. Which would kind of piss me off, because I don't... Like, listen, we all make fun of Aquaman. Everyone makes fun of Aquaman. He's fucking Aquaman. But more recent versions have given him things to do, and I don't want him just to be relegated to, you're the water guy. Like, he genuinely has abilities and stuff that he can use on land.
Yeah, I like the joke that they made at the end of the trailer. They're like, so I hear you can talk to fish.
See, that was the one part of the trailer I thought was a little awkward. It felt like they were trying to be Marvel. They're trying to do a Marvel quip, but that felt like the setup to a quip, not the punchline. Like, it felt like Arthur should have said something back.
Well, to me, because of the Bruce we have, it felt like, obviously, Arthur picks him up and slams against the wall, and he's kind of posturing, and Batman doesn't play that shit, and he's like, you talk to fish, like, I'm the fucking Batman. It just seemed like a chest beat, less than a sort of quippy Joss Whedon, because he didn't come across like that. He didn't like zing it out there. It was slow and confident. I don't know. I liked it, and I'm hoping that kind of carries over, because that's like the tone you want moving forward. Certain characters have certain jokes, but not all of them are jokey.
Right.
Like, it's not Marvel. Batman sometimes has those overconfident burns.
No, I know. I don't.
That he gets you on.
It's not that I want it to be quippy. It's that it felt like they were trying to do an end of trailer beat like Marvel.
No, I agree with you on the composition of the trailer for sure. But no, I like that Aquaman probably won't think those things are funny.
Yeah.
And will probably be irritated by people like Barry and might level with someone like Bruce later.
Sure.
Which is usually what happens. More Superman, though. I'm looking forward to it. I think they all have interesting dynamics that are going, and it seems way more character driven than Batman v Superman, which was basically just like, oh shit, I have something to do, but I really want to jack off real quick. Like, seemed like they just were trying to get it all out at once and blow their wad all over the whole fucking thing.
As much as I have to say positive about this trailer, I'm not very confident in the movie itself because it's still
Nope.
Zack Snyder and it's still Warner Brothers. So
more Warner Brothers. Zack Snyder did a fine job with his Ultimate Edition. It wasn't a great movie. It wasn't great. I'm just saying it was fine.
I don't even know if I would call it a good movie. It was watchable. It was more watchable than the theatrical.
It was like a
cut.
6.5, but it was more due to the shitty Lois and Superman dynamic that he. Let's be fair. He was forced to make the movie he made from the studio, and I think given what he was forced to put into it, because they have to move forward and get to Justice League so fast, I feel like he did a good job given the situation in the Ultimate Edition. But that said, that movie is not good, and I'm worried about this one. I am worried.
I am so worried because I'm trying.
It's got so many things I want, and I'm like already kind of nerd bonery about it. But it's like very, very tentative. I'm hoping for the best. So down in the comments before we close up, what do you guys think on this list? What's your favorite one? If there's something not on this list that you think will be the best movie kind of in this genre, we'll call it the fantasy / comic book thing going on. Pop culture shit. I'm trying to think of anything else I was even moderately interested in. Yeah, that's it. Actually, tomorrow we're going to be doing a live Stranger Things talk. So if you haven't seen Stranger Things, please grab some energy drinks and maybe some munchies and binge that whole fucking thing tonight because it's great. It's a really great series, and everyone should finish it. And we're going to talk about it, Hugo included. Yeah, because Hugo, have you finished it yet?
Nope.
You were close. You're going to binge it though because it's great. And I'm really excited for that because there's a lot of things to talk about. It's one of those series that I think they're doing a one-off, the Duffer Brothers. It's kind of like an anthology thing, but there's definitely possibilities for a season 2, although I think I would prefer just keep it at 1. I'm not going to spoil anything.
They confirmed season 2.
Yeah, but I mean, like this story.
It's a sequel story. They already said.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then that's fine because there are things that I think they could definitely build on. Although if this was just how it ended, it would be fine too. So we'll talk about that live on Sunday, the 7th. So come see us.
Also, sorry to all the Legends of the Hidden Temple fans for not reviewing that train wreck of a trailer.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Did you know Legends of the Hidden...
I did not. No, I did not. I remember that was a game show that a lot of children got traumatized on, but they're doing a movie?
They are doing a direct-to-Nickelodeon TV movie, and they revealed the
maybe
trailer.
We'll do a review of that sometime. Like a full one, but not this time. Not doing it.
They revealed it at Comic-Con. Like, people were going to be excited for this shitty... It looks terrible. It looks terrible.
No, thank you.
Like, even for kids. If I was a kid and saw this, I'd be like, this is shit. And I know, because I watched the Wizards of Waverly Place movie as a child. And it was bad. Well, not as a child. I was probably a teenager.
Anyways.
Yeah. So, until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
This is Unpopular Culture. And, God damn it, Warner Brothers, get your shit together.
Oh, we forgot to tell you to subscribe. You should do that.
Oh, I guess.
Just a passing remark.